Yuri from Tel Aviv, Israel. I have 10 years of experience writing web applications. And today what we're gonna start learning is Vue.js, which is super fun and super concise and super intuitive JavaScript framework, which I happen to like a lot since since the moment we have met, you can say. So I'm really excited to share some of that info. Let me just go over what we're actually gonna do in this little project of ours. First of all, the project is going to be basic. We're gonna start from the basics. We're going to go over the components and how Vue.js actually not too deep into the technicals and the theoretical works of Vue.js, but best practices and what's a good way to build an application. We're going to see it on a small scale application, but this principle will scale really well to a bigger app if you keep these things in mind. So let's go over a bit of what we're going to see in the project. The first session is going to be an architecture and setting up the environment. So first of all, we'll go a bit over the elements and how we're going to structure the app, which is, in my opinion, very important. Things, if you come from the Angular world or React.js, they don't really they don't stress very much how you should build the apps, and it sometimes ends up being a bit of a mess. So in Vue.js we're going to talk about structure. We're going to talk a bit about the environment, the hot reloading, the dev server, the really fun, really cool stuff. Really helps with the dev process, and we're going to use the default project which Vue provides us with. We're gonna go over it a bit and see how we're going to build on top of that in order to make our own search application. Session number 2. We're going to look at the Vue components, which is a really big, I'd say the biggest part of Vue, and components the hierarchy. It's actually how they work and communicate between them. So first of all, we'll build the various components of our search application. For example, the search bar and the search results, the results themselves, etc. So we need to break it up. We need to break up the app into components. We're going to put the components together. So we have the search bar, we have the results. So how do we, what's the relationship between them? How do we actually make them into a single application? And the third part of the session would be making sure the components actually interact. The way we put them together, they actually make sense. That the code, works well. We're going to do it with dummy data. And in section number 3, we're going to implement the communication between the components, the parent-child communication, see how that works, how do events work, how do props work, how it really all works together. And we're going to implement the search itself. So all in all, we're going to be touching on a lot of subjects in a very basic and isolated manner, which is going to be lots of fun. It's going to be super informative and very easy to follow. So So I hope to see you in my project. See you soon. Hello guys. So today we're gonna start with the first session of our Vue.js search engine. And what we're going to go through is the general architecture of the app, the elements we're gonna need, a bit about the environment of Vue. We're gonna set up the environment, and we're gonna go through the default template of Vue projects. So let's start. I'll be using Vue CLI version 3 because it's important, because when I started this tutorial 2 was the default, but today it's 3. Let's look at it. Vue CLI. Okay, there we go. This is the installation. npm install -g for global, and it's at Vue // CLI, as opposed to what we installed before was Vue-CLI. They've changed the hierarchy of the library, and that's how it's installed. So I'm going to be using Vue CLI 3 with Node.js 8. So let's get to it. This is my command line. Let's just check the version of Node. If you're using if you need to use multiple Node versions, by the way, you can use something called NVM, which is super neat. You can have more than one Node version at a time. So here, as you can see, my current version is 8.11.4. And I also have 6.3 for some legacy project. I can switch between them. This is just a side note. Okay, so let's. I've already installed the Vue CLI. CLI is basically the tool that helps us with local development. It makes it very easy. It has a hot reload, nice warnings, templating, etc. I'm not going to go through all of it functions, but it's really awesome, and you should definitely go through the docs, see what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a project. Our project is going to be called vsearch. Vue create vsearch. Okay, and there we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the default, which is the best. The previous version of the CLI, they took you through this long list of preferences, which most people don't really know what they need. You can always go through this through picking your own presets, but for this tutorial we're gonna go with the defaults. So I'm going default, and it starts the installation. Okay, so now that the installation is over, the Vue CLI is conveniently telling us what we should be doing as a next step. cd vsearch, this is the directory we created for our project, and the npm run serve. If you remember CLI 2, it was run dev. They changed the wording, so basically now it's run serve. Let's try just that. vsearch npm run serve. So what's happening?
the dev server is starting, and we can see that it tells the local machine it runs on localhost 8080, and the network is whatever the network is not optimized, blah blah, to create a build. This is we're not gonna deal with the build, but we're just gonna use the non-optimized dev version, which gives us some pretty cool stuff. Okay, let's check this out. I'm gonna copy this, and I'm gonna open it in our browser. There we go. So this is the app. This is the template app. Let's go see what's in the folder that Node has created for. Not Node. Vue has created for us. So here it is. vSearch, the folders, Node modules is the things Vue needs to render and how to reload your application while you dev it. Public files, the ICO and the index.html. Let's take a look just for the hacks. Okay, this is where the app goes. Okay, this is not interesting, and the interesting part. Pardon. Here we have git ignore. So also Vue has created the git repo for us. We have package and package log, which is node files. And now for the most interesting stuff is the src, the source. This is the main part. This is the part that we're going to be dealing with. This is the part that actually makes the app. So the entry point, let's say, is main.js. Okay, it's very simple. It's import from Vue, app Vue, production type false, and this is the application. If you've read a bit through Vue docs, this is the basic app. This is how it starts. It mounts the Vue application into this selector, which is ID is app, and we've probably seen it in public here. There you go. This is where it's mounted. This is where the app is gonna show. Okay, if it's too zoomed in, don't worry. I'm gonna zoom out a bit the moment we start writing code. So so this is where the app starts, and if you notice, it mounts this application. So here's the code we'll actually be writing. Okay, this app, I'm gonna zoom out a bit. Okay, app Vue. This is actually the first component. We're gonna talk about the components in session number 2 in more depth. But basically, components are the pieces of the Vue application. Components consist of the template. It's the actual HTML, the script, which is the code, and the style, which is the CSS. This is super neat. I have worked before with I come from an Angular JS world, and it works very different in Angular. You have the code and the app separate, and definitely the CSS as well, which is how we're used to work. But if you think a bit deeper about it, this is actually the super convenient way, the way more convenient way to work, because every component, every visual part of your UI is consisting of separate HTML, separate with hopefully separate code, and separate style. And this Vue gives it to you out of the box. Your every element, it's coded this way. Okay, so we have the Vue, the main, the root component, which imports another component. The hello world, we go is here. The hello world is in a folder called components. with hello world view.view. Let's go take a look. There we go. This is not mandatory, by the way. The structure, it's something that Vue suggests, and it's actually pretty convenient. Okay, so let's look at the hello world. This is the actual HTML. Okay, we're seeing here. So let's test some of that awesome hot reload. For example, these links. Let's see, core docs. So this lines and these links, I don't want them. Let's just zoom in a bit and see how this works out for us. Core docs. Okay, this is the line, this is the links, the ecosystem. I don't want those. Installed CI plugins. I don't want those either. Okay, I just removed a chunk of the HTML. Let's see what happens on the page. Ta-da! Okay, the page magically reloaded to show the new part, the new HTML to reflect it. Okay, let's do some more killing. Okay, this I remove as well. Ta-da! Okay, this disappeared as well. This is pretty neat. Okay, let me show you a few more things about this. So I'll get you a bit excited, and then we move on to the structure. Okay, so how the HTML works is pretty clear. Okay, so we have the component here. Okay. Component here. Okay, so hello world, the message, and then we have the same message here in hello world. Okay, presented as h1. Okay, and this is we see it here. So let's go a bit over how the stuff works. So every component, in order to show to get data from its parent component, it needs something called props. Okay, and if you have this props, for instance, here is our message, then the parent component can send this prop to the container component. So for example, if I write here yabba-dabba-doo, okay, I'm gonna have yabba-dabba-doo. This wasn't so magical, but for example, if I want to duplicate the component, this is part of why we're here. So we don't have to rewrite code 5 times. We can actually use the same component, but with different props. So for example, another message. Okay, so we have 2 components, but with different props passed to them. What else? Okay, let's check out h1. These are my hello worlds. Okay, I'm gonna show you CSS scoping, which is pretty awesome. So this is h1. There's no styling for it here, but there is styling for there is styling for it somewhere. Nope, nowhere. Okay, so my h1, I'm gonna style it, let's see, color blue, just to make a, no, let's make it red. Okay, so what happens? Okay, all of them are red. Now let's say remove the scope. Okay, so all of them are green, which is not surprising, because the inner, like if you follow, is the one that actually counts. So if in the upper selector we made it red and in the inner selector we made it green, Okay, it's actually gonna take the styles of the inner selector. So now I want to make only the inner H1s. I want to make them red. Okay, only the styles that go in the hello world component. Okay, so pardon. Okay, in the hello world component. So what would I be doing if I was coming from let's say Angular world or someplace else? I'd probably give it some sort of class. Okay, sorry, green, and then I would have to class green, and that's what would differentiate between the classes, which is uncool. Okay, and it's lots of work, and you need to follow your classes, and it's a headache. And like if you build a serious big application, these classes they get merged, and it's awful. So how does Vue solve this? For every class, you remember we have the style. We have for every component we have the template, the code, and the style. So if just I add for the style I add scoped, we get the same result, which is pretty amazing. What does scope mean? Scope means that only the elements in this component's template they get affected by the style. So let's go somewhere more radical. Let's make here div app ID. So we have a div. Let's say div background black. That's pretty violent. Nothing happens because this div is the root element. Hello world. Okay. It's background. Background black. Ta-da. Okay, this whole stuff becomes black, which is kind of violent. Now I'm gonna move it here where it's scoped. Okay, div is like with no classes, no IDs, no pseudo classes or stuff like that. I just put it here in the style scoped, and there we go. Only the inner divs. It gives them the black background. Okay. So that's about that. Now let's talk that we showed a bit of fun stuff. We can talk about components. So just a mild and easy overview of components. Components, they're the basic elements of the basic and not so basic elements of Vue application. They're basically what you would call the views. So they have the props. That's what we said is the containing components. That's how they get data from the container components. They have data. Function. Field. Hello. So let's field. Okay, this is the data that gets that only the component uses. Okay, it's let's say it's invisible to its containing to the components that contain it. Okay, both components get hello. Okay, now let's do some easy manipulation. button, and we have the methods of the component. Methods is what they sound like. Is actually the event, the functionality of the component is the methods. So let's see something. Manip is the function that's going to manipulate the field string. Okay. The field is part of the data of the component. That's why we can manipulate it. The props can't be manipulated because they come from a component that contains it. Okay. Let's just do something like this, and this field is this field plus manip. Okay, let's see. The events we had with the add sign, on click, manip. Okay, there we go. Okay, so what did we see? We have the components. They have the props, which is the data that flows from the parent component to this component. Data is the data that you could think of it as privates if you come from the Java or .NET world. It's the data that used only by this component, or it's the components it contains, its children components, and the methods is the functions that is the functionality of this component. So that's what we have so far. So what would we need for our application, for our search application? We would probably need the search field. We would need some mechanism to prefer to talk to the search API, which I think would be happening in the parent component, because our application is not too complex. So all the glue between the components will keep it in the parent app. So we'll have the search field that will talk to the parent component, which will generate the result set and then show us the result components. So we're going to build a component for a single result, and then we're just gonna go through them. We're gonna loop through the results and show multiple instances of the result component. So I guess this is it for this session. I made the overview of the environment, which is Node.js, running the local server for rendering Vue and hot reloading and error checking and stuff like that. We set up the environment, okay, and we done a bit of coding. We looked into the default template and we adapted it a bit. We changed the components. So in next sessions, what we're gonna do is we're going to talk. Okay, I'm gonna edit this right away. Okay, we're gonna talk about the components and components hierarchy, which we touched a bit in this class. We're gonna build the various components for our app. The things I've touched is the search field, is the result components. We're gonna put our components together, the parent and children components, and we're gonna make some sort of a dummy interaction. I'm gonna send the messages, not search messages yet, not actual API interaction, but just dummy messages with mock results between the components to see that they're working. And session number 3, we're gonna do component communication both ways, not only parent to child, but also child to parent with real data. AJAX search. We're going to use the contextual web API. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can look it up. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, perfect for a solution. And I guess that's it. We might have a bonus session later if there's gonna be if people gonna want it. Okay, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this class, enjoyed this session, and I see you in the next session. Cheers. Hi, guys. So we're back for session 2 of Vue.js search engine. And in session 2, we're going to talk about the components mainly, and components hierarchy, which means in our project terms we're going to build the components of our app, which we've discussed at the end of the previous session, which means the search box. It's going to include some input logic, which is going to be the child of the main component, and the result set, the results container, and the single results list. We're going to put it all together as I've described now, and we're going to test the component interaction, which means we're going to be going through usage of props, parsing data, and if we're super quick, or not super quick, or quick enough, I'm going to touch also events. Events is a method of communicating with parent components. Okay, so let's start. This is our code. The app, it's with the hello world children components, is where we left in the previous session. So what we're going to do now, we're going to build the new components. Again, the search, the result container, and the result set. So let's get to it. I'm going basically to just copy paste. Wait, let me see. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to copy paste the hello world and then edit it to our needs. App view is going to be edited as to fit its purpose. So let's start. This, first of all, okay, the most important part is the name. That's how you know what to import. So this we're changing to search bar. This we're going to kill the class search bar, and input type text. There we go. The data I'm going to delete until we need this, and the methods I'm going to make empty until we populate them as well. This I can remove, and there we go, nice and clean. Now here we're not going to be able to import this because there's no hello world in the hello world file. So let's see how Vue breaks it. Okay, so far so good. And now search bar is defined but never used. Components search bar. In the main component, or not in the main, in every component that has children components, you need to define the children components in its proper definition set. So here we're going to put search bar, and last but not the least, rename the file. There we go. There's going to be search bar, so it's nice and see. This will clear. Okay, search bar. Input search. There we go. Okay, let's see how it looks. Okay, pretty straightforward. Cool. So now, after we finish this, let's add some more classes. We need the result set. Results set. Yes. And we'll have the single result as well. Okay, now let's check out the files. Result set. I just need to change the name. Result set, and here it's going to be single result. We're going to see how they interact later, and we know the result set, it has a component of single result. So just go here, components, and we need to import this set, of course, from import single result from single result, and components single result. There we go. And let's just test this single result. This is single result. This is the result set. Okay, so what do we have now? We have app view, which we need to import as well, and then we review the whole structure. Okay, so results set and result set. Okay, so now this is okay, and this is how we actually show the element. Right. Results set. There we go. So what happens is my main app has a component result set, and the result set has a component single result. Okay, which says this is a single result, this is a result set. Let's see what happens in Vue. Okay, there we go. This is the result set, but we don't have singular results. So let's see. Okay, we forgot to input the element. Single result. There we go. So if we want a bunch of those, we can do this. Okay. So far, so good. So let's see what we have here. We've defined the component. Let's start the search bar. Is simpler to explain. We've defined the component with template, with a name. It's important to note in a file named search bar view, and with some sort of styles. We can, like, for the sake of it, let's see, input border radius. Let's do it 3 pixels. There we go. Nice and round. Let's do 5. Let's do 5 and border 1 pix. Solid gray. Okay, it's ugly. It's because I'm not a designer. I'm a coder, but it works. So this is the search bar. We have the name, and we have the name of the file, and that's how we imported to the containing component. So result set, import from results view, and don't forget to include components before you use it. Okay, So far, so good. So let's see what happens next. Okay. Next, after we created all our components, let's go over some basic behaviors. So, as we said in the previous session, you can use props in order to communicate data from parent component to child component. Let's do this with the search bar, just as a matter of explaining things. Some data. Okay, props, some data. Okay, some data is a string, and now, at the moment, we don't see anything. Nothing happens. Is because we passed nothing as the prop, which we can do this way. Some data. Hello. Okay, and now we see here. This is just as simple. This is super simple. Okay, with that way we pass the props. We can pass object. We can pass some more structured data than a string or a number, which we're gonna do in the next session, I hope. Okay, so now after we have the props, we can also do let's do some data manipulation. The prop, as we said in the previous session, the prop cannot be modified by the component. You can think of them as constants regarding in the sense that they can't be changed by the component itself. The data they're getting is just a set string. If you want some data that you can actually modify, you need to do that. You need to populate the data fields. So don't forget that data have to be a function that returns an object with the fields. You can read more about why. I'm not going to go into the theory of things too much. This is a practical tutorial. Okay, let's call it. Let's call it. Search string hello. Pardon, so I don't need. Okay, so search string hello. Hello. As you can see, we're rendering them in the same way, even in the code. Some data and search string. Let's call this. So it's easier to understand. Prop data. And this self data. Okay, still the same. Just to make sure it works, there you go. Okay, so rendering wise, you can see that they're the same, they have no difference. So why do we need props and data? Data is something the component can act upon. For example, as we saw with the buttons in the previous session, we can manipulate this data. So, for example, if my value, let's show what binding is. In order to populate a field, an HTML elements field with your Vue.js data, you can use vbind, not bond, pardon, vbind value and your value, for example, your self data. Okay, let's see what happens here. There we go. So the self data is populated in the field why we bound it. Now let's change it. Nothing happens. Let's see why. First of all, we can have the short notation for bind. It's gonna work like this as well. Self data. Now please note. Okay, we go here. Colon and then the field you want to populate, the attribute with the variable gives you the same effect as vbind. It's important to know. So from now on, I'm going to use this short notation. So let's see, self data 2. Okay. But what we saw is not good enough, right? Because when we write, we wanted to change here as well as two-way binding that we know from Angular and other frameworks. So how do we do that? First of all, let's fix a button because we want to manipulate the data on some event. Or I know what, guys. Let's do the model first. Okay. If you do vModel, on the other hand, vModel goes like this. Without the value, we can now change the data. You see, it changed both ways. vModel is basically is a command, is an attribute you use for input fields. So this is an easy hack. Okay, it's very similar to Angular's model, but way more way faster. It works better. It's way more optimized. Okay, now that we get the vModel in place, and we can use it like this, update from the field. Let's add another action. Make a simple alert. Now we're going to change. We're going to actually affect some behavior of the component. We're going to give it behavior that's more sophisticated than just editing button. So change text, and what we're going to do now is use the event prefix, which is the @. Okay, let's look at it at the moment. Is this? It's what you use in the email, and then I do click, and then I pick the method. Change test. Okay. Now we need to implement this method. Sorry, this is not test, this is text. Change text, and the method, here we go. We take the name, function, and we can address directly this data. This self data is changed. Okay, so this, when we click the button, it's supposed to add a change string to the self data. Let's see what happens. Okay, you see it changes in both in the input and in the output, is because their vModel is two-way binding. It's bound when you change it, displays, and when you change the display, it also changed the original. So what do we have here? We have a string that's modeled to a data, and we have the event which happens on a click that changes the text. Here is actually a regular function which you can change to do basically anything you like. Let's change this to console log. Console log. Yes. Set data. There we go. And the data here is updated as well, just so you see better. Okay, it's the same as here. Okay, so now we have basic understanding of props, which is just the data that comes from the parent object, which means the parent object can communicate with the children object. Components. When I say object, I mean components. We have the data. These fields are invisible to the parent component, and they're used just in order to manipulate data locally. And we have the methods. The methods, they're basically the behavior of this specific component. So far, so good. So what's the plan? The plan is we're going to have the search bar. We're going to enter the text, and we're going to, when the user hits search, we're going to send it to the app view. The app view, let's add it. First of all, we need the data. Pardon, I told you we need the function, and now I didn't do it. Okay, return. Okay, so we have nothing in the data, and now we are adding methods. Do search, for lack of better name. We're going to define a data function. Search to be implemented. Okay, there we go. So far so good, and then the result set is going basically to get the search results. How is it going to get them? Through the prop data, and the result set is going to render the results. Okay, so let's see how we do that. First of all, okay. Results set. Okay, at the moment there are no results and there is no iteration, so I need to prepare. I need to prepare them. I need to prepare the result set. I'll change this. Result set component in order so it's able to iterate and show the results as they arrive. Okay, so props will have the results list. It's going to be empty. Component single result and methods. Okay, at the moment I think it's the only thing we're gonna need. We just need to make this result set, result list. Now notice this is the prop which I'm going to write here. Result list, and I'm going to pass the list. Okay, let's do the data. I am going to make a dummy object. Search results. Is going to be an array. Title. Hello world, and description is going to be first item on the list of results. This is number 1, and number 2, second result, and second item. We're gonna use the titles, the title and description later. Now I just need the dummy object with the results. So what's interesting now is we're going to pass this here, and in the result set we're going to list let's do it in the method way, and we're going to do the computed properties later. Method count results, results length. Oh, pardon, it needs to be this. Nice. It's nice when your IDE compiles stuff for you, and here we go. This is the result set, and its length is okay. We have an error, and why is that? Expected something at the string. Okay, let's see. It's not the error I was expecting. Results list. I tell you why. Because pardon me, list is of type array. So this is good. Okay, now here we're going to do a little data set so that we have something to work with. Okay, this is going to be dynamically generated through the API, but now at the moment I just want a simple data, and let's see what we had here, the results list. Okay, it's important to put the colon, otherwise it's going to be used as a string, like here. The search bar, the prop data is passed here as a string, but if you put the column, it's modeled, it's bound via the vbind, like we talked before, if you remember. It was the same as vbind some attribute. Something in here goes the variable. Okay, so the same. We want to bind the result list, yes, to our object search results. Let's do this. Okay, and then we'd like to count those results. Count results function and return this results list length. This is the result set, and here is its size. Let's see. Some debugging here. Okay, this is the result set, and here its size. Okay, the size is 2. And just for the sake of it, make 3. The size is 3. Okay, let's also remove number 2. Where do we get it from? It's pretty annoying. Solve that. Okay, this is on the search bar. Okay, so now everything we pass to the results, we can actually display it. So now let's do the more interesting part. Is we take these results and we're gonna iterate them. We're gonna build a single results list with what we have. So the prop in the single result are going to reflect what we have in this object, which eventually is going to go from the search API, but at the moment it's all we have. So we have title and we have description. So the props will be accordingly named, titled, and description, string, and the terminal. We're going to show them here. Let's do title and span plus description. We're going to have the description. Let's do some quick styling. Title is going to be font size 17 pixels, color blue, and the description is going to be 13 pixels, color green, so that it reminds of some specific search engine. Okay, so we have the special styling over single result file. Okay, we have the description, we have the title, we have the props, title, and description. So basically now the only thing we're waiting for is the data. Now we have the search bar. Pardon, close this. This confuses me. Okay, now we have the result set, which actually is being passed some results from the app view, okay, which has coincidentally title and description. So now we need to take the object from result set, iterate it, and pass each iteration data to a single result. Let's do this. Okay, so now this we don't need. What we do need is we do it as we did before. Single result, title, what goes in the title we don't know yet, and description we also don't know. Okay, so now what do we have at the moment? Okay, we just have the description and the title, but not from the object. The question is, how do we iterate over the result set and pass the relevant data to the single results object? Okay, so Vue makes it really simple for us to do the iteration. Let's do this. v4 res in results list. Now don't forget to bind those, because otherwise it's just going to be a string. Title, res title, and description. Let's see what happens here. Okay, this is our object. I put the breaks in the wrong places, but it's easily fixed. And there we go. Okay, so we have each one twice. Why is that? Because I duplicated the line by accident, and there we go for you. One result, one description, one result, one description, one result, one description. So let's recap. We have the app view, which has an array of results. Second, hello world, second result, second result. Let's make it third result and see it. There we go, third result. We have three results which are passed as an object by using the column. Okay, if you have the column, the vbind knows it needs to bind, it needs to pass the variable and not the string search results. Afterwards, we go to the result set. where we are taking the results list, which were passed to us by the app, and we iterate it. Results list res, and then we bind the relevant object object data to the relevant props in the single result. Okay, let's see. Okay, title is bound to title, and description bound to description, and all this is in the v4. And here we have the title and the description, title blue, title green. Okay, and everything looks nice and shiny, like in Google. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up in this for this session. In the next session, what we're gonna do, we're actually going to make the communication not only from up to down, which means to parent object, from parent component to children components via props, like we did here. Okay, if you notice the app, it contains the result set, which it passes the data through the props, and same here. The result set passes it to the single result via the props. We're going to need to do it the other way around. It's going to be the interesting part. From the search bar, we'll have to take the text and propagate it, actually send it upstairs to the app component, which will perform the search. And then when the search results, when they get back, we're going to populate them into the result set. So basically, that's it for this session, and I hope to see you in the next one. Cheers. Hi guys, we're here again with the Vue.js search engine implementation, and today we're going to speak about the session 3, which more specifically is component communication and AJAX search. We're going to implement so far. Let's recap what we did so far. So we worked, we looked at the Vue.js, the environment setup, the default templates, and the initialization of the project. In second session, we did the components and component hierarchy, how child components are actually integrated into parent components. We've built the main app component, the search bar component, and the result components. We put them together, and we did some component interaction, but only from top to bottom, which means parent components only spoke to child components using props. If we take a look at an example, that's what happened here. A result set had the search result list passed by the props mechanism. Okay, for example. Okay. Basically, so we have most of the stuff needed for the search UI to work, and in this session we're going to implement the backwards communication, which means the bottom to top. The search bar is going to initialize the search routine in the parent component. So we're going to talk about events. That's how the communication happens, and we're going to implement the AJAX search. We're going to use Axios for that. That's the recommended library, although and maybe we're gonna do some paging as well. If not, we're gonna put it in the next session. Okay, so let's get to it. So what do we have here? We have the app, which is the main part of the application, which is going to perform the search. and we have the search bar, which we're passing some props down, but what we want is the search bar to actually to take text from the search bar and send it up to the app view, where the app view will perform the search, which is not implemented at the moment. And then when it receives the search results, we want to send them to the result set, which in its turn, the result set will run a loop and populate the single result components with the relevant values. Okay, so let's do some first of all some cleaning. The prop data which we send here is not relevant. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, it's clean now already. Search results. The logo we leave here. The logo we leave here. This keep as well. This is not interesting. This for the V model is not interesting as well. And we have the change text event that happens on the input, which we're going to change to the search. So it's going to be search. And we're going to make search. And this event is going to be search as well. Okay, so here we have the search and the search method, which at the moment only logs the data. Let's check this out. Okay, where's stuff? Okay, so we have the logging mechanism working well. What we do need now is sending this data to the app, where we want to perform the AJAX search. So how are we going to do that? We're going to implement an event like we have here. This is if you take a look at this, you see the add sign with a click, which means that on click, when you have the click, it's shorthand for V on run this method, the search method. So pardon, it's this. It's short for this. So run the search method. We're going to do the same. We're going to have a custom event on the search component that will that will behave the same. We'll just put add sign, some custom event name, and then the do search function. So let's check out how this works. We're putting the thing and on start search. Okay, we want to run the do search function with the event argument. Okay, so start search. Now we need to implement the same thing here. Okay, so on search, how do we actually implement an event? How do we shoot an event? It's rather simple. We do emit. I'm going to go close here. Emit. Then the name of event. Start search. Okay, it's a kebab case because HTML is not case sensitive. That's why we're not writing it like here in camel case, so that the HTML can support this. And we're sending the string. Search it here. We need this. there we go. Okay, this emit the event and the event data. You can also pass JSON objects in the event data. Okay, so let's take a look how it goes. What's up? Okay, so we can see that we have the WhatsApp string from the search bar, and we have the search to be implemented from the app view. So what we know now is that the event actually worked and it propagated well. So this we remove, we don't need this anymore. Now we check out the do search string. We check if the string gets on as expected. String passed. Okay, let's see again. There we go. String pass self data, and this is hello world. There we go. Okay, so what we've seen now is basically the backbone of the of the communication between components. That's how the emit event, you can send the component, you can send the data from child component to parent components. It's exactly what we did here with this event data, etc. Search, so it's more elegant. Okay, there we go. Okay, very nice. So far so good. So what are we doing next? Now that we have the search string, we actually need to implement the search. How do we do that? We'll be using the contextual web search. They have a free API, which I have some links ready. If you want to take a look, it looks like this. Contextual search, API search, you enter the query, you enter the page number and the page size, and they do the pagination automatically, and they give you the correct result. So let's see how this actually looks. So we take this, we take the URL, the query, let's do Vue.js. Next, we're doing the page number. Order is not mandatory. You can do it in any order. Page number, let's do 1, and page size, let's do 5. So which means we'll have 5 results per every page, and we want the first page for the term Vue.js. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Related results. Okay, total count of results 130, and the values. The values, we have 5 items, and it's actually our search result. So let's look at one result. Vue.js, Firestore plus Fire UI, this is the URL, this is the description. Okay, you have some other metadata, which is we're not gonna use it, but let's see just the URL. Let's see if it works. Okay, this is some sort of view result. Let's check out another one. What's this? JavaScript framework tutorial, Laravel tricks with Vue.js. Okay, awesome. Laravel tricks, and we have the Vue.js. Okay, so the results, they're not really helpful, but we don't mind because we're just testing how to build the UI and not actually the real search engine. So I'm going to be using this these URLs in order to populate our results. Okay, how are we going to do it? We're going to address to shoot requests from using Axios, and then populate our UI with these JSON results. So let's get to it. First of all, what I'll need the Axios library. So So let's do that. npm install Axios. Okay, there we go. Now, how do we do the search? So let's take a look. First of all, we need to import Axios into our code. So okay, now we have it. Now let's do a search. So Axios get, it might be familiar from other places. I'm gonna go for this URL just to test it out. There's a surprise waiting for us, but okay. Okay, comma, and there's a how do you do the request in Axios? You do the get, you put in the URL, and then you pass the options object. So params is basically the get parameters. I'll do q will be Vue.js, page number 1, page size 5. Okay, this I can remove. Let's do, you know what? Let's search for the string right away. There we go. There's a little, a little surprise coming, but we'll deal with it when I get there. Okay, so let's search. Let's search for the string and basic config, then function response, catch function error, and then we have the again then, and this is the final. Whoop, pardon. Then function always executed. So basically what happens, we send the request, then we perform some action when we get the response. If there is an error, we catch the error, and we do then again. This part is always executed. Why is it good to have a part that's always executed, regardless if we have a good response or a bad response? For example, stuff like loaders, like some sort of animation that you want to stop after you get the response, either it's good or bad. You want to make the user, like the UI, available for the user again. That's when you would use something like that, the blocks that are always executed. Okay, so now log response. Okay, so what's gonna happen now? If you guys do lots of API usage, you will know. Okay, you will know that's what happens is a network error. Why do we have a network error? Because the contextual web search.com API have no access control header, which allows everyone to access it. And our domain, localhost, is different than the contextual web search domain. So how do we go around this? In the real world, you'll always work against your own service, against your own API, or an API that enables third-party access with access control allower region. So because I didn't want to build my own search API, it's beyond the scope of this tutorial. I just built a really simple proxy server that runs on localhost as well, and the only thing it does, it just take my requests and send them to whatever URL I'm asking it, and then send me the response. So just let's check real quick how it works. I go to localhost 1234, and then I paste this same URL that I've just entered before. Okay, like this. Localhost. This is where my proxy server is. This is you don't need to understand how it works, just need to know what it does in order to further understand how I'm doing the AJAX requests. So, it's not working. Pardon. It's 3000. Okay, there we go. So this result, if you remember the result we got there, it's pretty much the same. Let's change this to Vue.js, and there we go. 130 results of the same results we got there, but from a different URL. So what do? I just copy this and go to Vue.js here. Add this. Okay, so what do we have? We have this weird URL which has two URLs, one after the other, just concatenated, but the proxy it can manage it. Okay, the proxy just takes my request and forwards it, and gives me the response. So let's see what happens when we do this again. Okay, that's pretty cool. We actually got a response. Let's take a look. This is our response with all the stuff, with all the data, the related search, the value. Okay, so what interests us in the object is the value, the description, and the title, and the URL, of course. So let's see how we package it together. So how do we take the results we've got and we send them and we show them in a nice way here. So just see that we're getting the right. If we see Vue.js, let's start again. Okay, data, value. There we go. Firestore, yeah, is the same stuff. So we need to take data, value, and just package it and pass it on to the results set. Okay, so let's do this. Here is where we get the response. I want to populate my search results with data from data value. Okay, let's see what it does. This search results equals response data value. I don't know if it's gonna work, but let's see. Vue.js. Okay, there's an error. Search result defined. There we go. Okay, so what we basically needed is to change this inside here. Actually means Axios. So we need to populate. We need the temporary holder for this, which means actually the component. So we put it into that, and we put it here, and we put the values here. So now we can see that we actually have our results. Okay, but they're weird HTML tags, and there's no description and there's no URLs. So we need to fix all that. So this we can remove because we see the search works. And we need to fix stuff here. So let's see. We don't have desk. Here is actually, if we go to the network tab and we look for the search, its description is the full word. So let's change this. Actually change this to this. Okay, and let's see what happens here. Vue.js. Okay, so now we have the description and the title, just where we wanted them. Okay. What are we missing is the normal parsing of this stuff, of these tags, which is pretty annoying. Let's see how we deal with them in Vue.js. So let's go into single result. That's a single result. We iterated. We went through it in session 2. We iterated and we passed the values as props. So now let's see how we deal with them here. They're just rendered here as strings. We want a bit more than that. We want to render them as HTML. So we delete those. Okay, and what we do is we do VHTML, and we pass the prop. And here as well, VHTML, and we pass the prop. Description. Okay, let's see what happened. There we go. You see the nice bold stuff. Oh, well done. Okay. So this is the result set, and we have the results. The only thing left is to put it in the URL. Okay, so what do we need? We need the URL. So let's do this. First of all, we add the URL tag, href URL. We take them from here, we put them here. Okay, we get the URL. Now we need to add it as a prop. So it's there, string, and we need to pass it from the single result to the result set as well. So URL will be as URL. Looks good. There we go. So we have this this awful thing. First of all, let's see. Yep, it opens the results. So we have a working search engine. Vue.js. There we go. The JavaScript framework. Yep, there it is. So let's just remove these horrid lines. We'll take this here. A text decoration none. There we go. Okay. So far so good. Let's try to search for something else. Check noise. There we go. Check noise facts, check noise super kicks, filmography, communism, etc. So looks good. Okay, let's let's sum up then. So what do we did in this session? We talked components communication. We did the AJAX search. We implemented the components parent-child communication. How we did it? We went to search result. We implemented the on an event in a component on a button on button click event. We emit an event start search with the string, which goes to the parent component. The parent component catches the event just like you catch a click. The same way, if an event happens in a component, that's how you catch it. At sign with the name of the event, and then you pass the inside. You pass the function, or in this case the method that you want to deal with the event. The $event means the data of the event. In our case, it's just a string, but it could be an object, a JSON object as well. So the do search event goes to Axios, to the API via the Axios. This is actually the second part of our session, and we send the request to this URL with the params as described by the API: the query string, the page number, and the page size. You can omit those, and you'll still have a nice result. You have the then function, what happens actually when you're getting the results. So we just populate our search results with the response data value, and it just worked out of the box. Why? Because we had all the objects ready before that. Our search results data goes as to result set as a prop. Okay, we had it bound before. The search result goes here. In the result set, we can see that the result set expects the prop to be a list. That's exactly what it is. Why does it expect it to be a list? So we can do a v-for. V-for is just a loop that runs over a list and renders components with the list data. So we have in our case the title, description, and the URL. In the single component, we have the HTML. We have the title rendered as HTML using the HTML. Same for the description, and the URL just to make it clickable and that it can take you to your result set. So that's basically it. It sums it up. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can send them to my Live Edu inbox. I'd love to answer those. I hope this was interesting and helpful, and I see you in other tutorials. Cheers.